Hey, Sean's here, and I figured just because I'm bored, we'll go over normal and heroic Ula'Tek, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about Mythic too, just for fun. So this fight is honestly, if you're looking like, I don't want to hear normal, I don't give a fuck about normal, I just want to hear heroic for first week. It's really honestly between normal and heroic, not that different. So really, you're gonna get really just understanding at the normal level is kind of enough to get the fight. Heroic doesn't really change that much. It just obviously makes everything more deadly, and it adds some extra group coordination checks. That's really about it. Which you might be like, well, that's kind of vague. Group coordination can be a lot, can massively change a fight, but in this case, doesn't really change it that much, and you'll see as we go through it. So I'm not going to go through every single ability right here, because I think one, that's kind of boring, and two, there's way too many abilities on this fight. Obviously, it's a WoW end boss. It has like 30 abilities to its name, and some abilities have like three children, and there's like a cascading web of abilities to go from. So I'll start. So I will cover though like kind of the more important ones, the ones that you're gonna see persist through the fight, if it kind of needs that description, and then we'll go from there. So I'll first show you the platform. So this is the boss room. It's going to start like this, and then of course in true WoW fashion, kind of like Illyria, it's going to break apart. Later on in the fight, it'll look like this. This is going to be P3. So obviously we're not going to start there. We're going to start with the nice clean platform, and this is what it's going to look like. And so we know also, let me see if I can pull it up here, right? Give me 1 second, I'll probably make a cut. Wow, cast from the video, right? We have actually seen, so yeah, so this is the fight. This is the boss arena, right? So this is a preview of what the waves and the ads will look like, right? So you'll see that that's what these waves look like. They kind of sweep across the platform, just a parallel line, right? And I think this is also pretty interesting too. You see that the eggs hatch even before these waves come out, and we'll talk about the eggs and the waves and stuff, and why that could be important and could be indicative of something else in a little bit. But yeah, so this is what the waves are going to kind of look like. They look like the Queen Ansarek waves. They just travel together in a tight line instead of just kind of helter-skelter. So obviously, as you can see, this will be the first end boss in a very long time that we probably won't be actively tanking, right? Like, we won't be able to move her around the platform. She's going to be in the lava chilling. And so with that, obviously, that's going to change a lot of things. Blizzard especially likes making end bosses require a lot of positional adjustments by the tanks. So instead of, being something where the tanks are responsible for controlling the boss's movement, it's going to trickle down to other things, right? And I think the first thing to talk about in that regard is, well, actually, before we go into tank stuff, let's talk about the eggs, right? Because this is kind of the core mechanic of the encounter throughout all difficulties, and you need to kind of really understand it, right? So essentially, what this boils down to is more seed slop, right? Since Halandris, Blizzard just kind of loves these mechanics where you have to pick something up and protect it. And if you blow up with it, you blow up the entire raid, wipe the raid. They kind of chilled out on that a little bit on normal and heroic. On Mythic, guess what? It's straight seed slop, right? We're going to get this noxious shell thing, this noxious splash. If you run within 3 yards of another player that has an egg, you wipe the raid, or not wipe the raid, actually, to be fair. You just kill yourselves. But I mean, on an end boss, usually if 2 people die, right, in P1, you're probably fucked. So it is essentially more seed slop, which, kind of working out for them, makes hard bosses, but I kind of question, how long can we keep doing this whole thing? Pick the thing up, protect it, wipe the raid if you get hit, kind of thing. But regardless, essentially what this boils down to again is there's going to be a little bit of a change here, right? Because of these caustic waves. So these Queen Ansarek waves are going to go towards, where these eggs spawn, and again, you can kind of think of it a little bit, where did my thing go? You can kind of think of it like this, right? So you have these are what the eggs are going to look like. We don't know how many will actually spawn. Obviously, it could be 2 every time. It could be, 4 or whatever. And especially because these seem to exist before she even did her wave here. And the whole thing, right, is that if she hits the, let me see, where is it actually at? When they come into contact with the venom, that fills Ula'Tek's prison, they're going to hatch early, right? So the idea is you want to not get them hit by the wave. So they have this property, Malignant Shell, that allows players to actually walk over them and pick them up. Kind of like this mechanic from Coiled Altar, right? Where is it? I think is a Toxic Deluge, Coalesced Venom, yeah. So, you know, on Coiled Altar, you can pick up the orbs and like place them in front of the tank so they can easily get rid of them. This is kind of the same thing. You just walk over them, pick them up, and then deposit them wherever you want to. I'm assuming there's going to be an extra action button that allows you to put them down. And then the whole idea is, you know, you protect them from the waves and then kill them. And then killing the eggs will result in this Blight Scale Rowling ad, which is kind of a nothing burger, doesn't really do anything. On Heroic, it gets this ability, Poisonous Bite, which is just tank damage, right? If it's up too long, the tank's going to get pretty high stacks of this and, you know, come in danger from that. But possibly not even, you know, depending on the tank you have, especially later on the tier, it's probably going to be like whatever to have a bunch of them up. And you'll probably be able to just passively cleave them down. But the, you know, possible intended wipe condition is that you might get these Blight Scale Vipers, which I'm assuming are not only going to be more dangerous, but have like way more health. So they're going to require a lot more damage, and you might fall behind on things as a result of this. So they'll obviously just spam this Acidic Burst cast on normal, and then on Heroic, they're also going to add this big Healing Absorb, this Petrifying Sting. They'll pick one person, and then they'll need to move out the raid. Otherwise, it's going to put a 1.8 mil Healing Absorb on a bunch of people, which, again, honestly, is like, that sucks, but it's not something that you can't deal with, right? Like, you could do a healer CD and be perfectly fine from this, especially because there doesn't seem to be much other damage in P1 going on besides that. So it could be something where, like, even having one go off is not necessarily a wipe, but it could also be, you know, I think this is particularly telling, the fact that you have an egg set that like hatches before the waves even come out. And we're not 100% sure, actually, because we can see, right? These Rowlings, these, I don't know, to me, these look more like Vipers than the Rowlings. Yeah, because these actually have like skin and everything, and the Rowlings don't. They're kind of like old Hakar looking things. So it could be that you get sets that are supposed to be Vipers, like no matter what. Not sure. They could have just, you know, not killed these in time for whatever reason, for the preview or whatever. So that can be something that, you know, you might just have to deal with some of these at some points, and then, you know, obviously the sets that you don't need to, then you don't want to get extra one of these Vipers because they could have more health, require more damage, what have you. But besides that, that's like the main mechanic of P1 and of the fight in general. Besides that, you have this Mother's Wrath cast, which is just going to have the active tank. They'll get knocked back, and then she's going to channel on them, right, for a couple seconds, and then she's going to debuff them for like 2 minutes almost, with a dot and also a 35% movement speed slow, right? It's called Hobbled for about a minute, so they're going to be moving slower. Based on the description of this ability, I think it's one of those abilities where you just taunt during the cast instead of after. And because of the nature of the boss, right, she stands still, you can't move her. Obviously, if the tank gets moved out, she's going to start hitting, you know, the next highest person with threat, and then if there's, you know, no other tank in range, obviously she's going to start hitting random melee. So you do want the other tank to be, you know, in range after the knockback, of course, and ready to taunt, probably during the cast, based on, you know, the description. Probably one of those abilities where you can safely taunt during the cast and it'll still be hitting this tank. And then just after that, you know, that's kind of the main tank swap mechanic. And then she has these ads, Gore Rattlers, and important to note that these tentacles, these Gore Rattlers, will share damage taken with her. So, you know, multi-dot, things like Spriest and Boomkin, Desterlux, Aflux, going to be good for this particular mechanic. I highly doubt that these ads are going to spawn like right next to her, right? They'll probably spawn like far away, especially since this tank is going to be slowed, right? The tank that's tanking her is going to be like here, occupied with her, and this slow guy is probably going to have to find a way to get, you know, to the tentacle quickly, whether through like, you know, Death's Advance or horsing or Tiger's Lust or just general leaps and stuff like that. Get over that, because obviously if you're not in range, then it's going to start hitting the ground, hitting everybody, right? Besides that, they just do this knockback, which may be, you know, something that makes it where melee don't really want to be on these, because it's 35-yard knockback. So They would probably have to, including this tank, would have to run all the way out and then run back in afterwards. So that could get, that could be maybe too much of downtime for melee, and they might be better off served just on the boss and range just hit this thing. And then besides that, you have the Spectral Coils cast, which does persist throughout the rest of the fight. There are other sources of this, so it's something you want to get used to. It's just going to be a soak, right? It could be here, could be in the middle room, could be wherever, but all you need to know is that it'll do reduced damage for however many people stand in it, right? So you want to get as many people as possible. On normal, there's no debuff. On heroic, this is, the classic, you need rotating groups to soak this, right? So you need like odds first, even second, that type of thing. So a little bit extra coordination on heroic, but that's about it. Same mechanic overall. And then, oh yeah, the other big mechanic of P1, and this happens throughout every other phase too, is Rage of the Shackled. We don't know, of course, what causes it. I don't think it says it in the overview. Let me see. After shatters the arena. Yeah, it doesn't particularly say what causes her to do it, so we don't know. It could be like certain percent thresholds. It could be time based. Again, don't really know. So as far as lust is concerned, not particularly sure if this is something you want to hold lust for, because I didn't show it, but it's kind of like XT. She's going to show her heart, and that heart takes 100% extra damage. And because of Ula'Tek spawn, any damage done to that heart is done to her, right? So basically just 100% damage amp for 20 seconds, which is absolutely insane. So could be something that you hold lust for depending on how soon it is, right? It could be like maybe 2 minutes in, it lines up with people's 2 minutes, or like it could be 30 seconds in, could be 1 minute in, we don't know. Again, we don't know what triggers it. So, that'll be something to watch for as far as lust goes, but I would still probably if you're first time pulling it and videos haven't come out, probably just lust on pull, and go from there, adjust as necessary. And then of course, unchecked rage. If nobody's in range, you just starts smacking the ground, right? And that's all of P1. Again, heroic didn't even change it, that much. All there is that you have to do rotating soak groups for this. And I think that's really it, right? The only other thing, obviously, is that the ads get more dangerous on heroic. You get this Blight Scale Viper, the healing absorb thing, which again, you might have to deal with some Vipers, so you do want to kind of know how to deal with that. But it's really just get out the raid with the mechanic and then heal through the healing absorb with that one person. So again, like I said, heroic doesn't change how the fight actually functions massively. So then we get stage 2, which is like really the interesting part of the encounter, I would say. This is where kind of things get inverted a little bit. So the most important thing are these 3 mechanics right here: Doomscale Egg, Doomscale Warden, Doomscale Cauldron, right? Don't know if Ula'Tek herself is going to be available during this part, because I don't see, you don't see her take mechanics in this phase, whereas in P3 you obviously do. So it could be that she's just in the lava chilling, doing some stuff. Don't really know. But in any case, then that would mean that the tanks, Rage of the Shackled. So she'll come up every now and then. Like I said, you still get these damage amps with her. So I'm guessing based off of that, yeah, she's not going to be actively tankable, right? So you're going to have to instead worry about these Doomscale Wardens, and these are kind of the main crux of this phase. And so they have this interruptible cast, right? Just, never let this go off. Just does a lot of raid damage if it goes off. Obviously you can heal through it on normal, probably, most likely. On heroic, I'm imagining, let me see, where did it go? Doomscale Warden on heroic. It's still not that bad. Probably can handle it with a healing city, right? But obviously you don't want them to go off if there's, it's just no need to take this damage. So what these guys will do is they'll go over, so from the description, right, there's going to be multiple clutches of these Doomscale eggs. So it could be, let's get rid of these. It could be that you have these, clutches of Doomscale eggs on both sides of the platform, right? Or it could be top and bottom. So you'll need to split the raid into kind of 2 groups, most likely. Probably on at least heroic. On normal, you might be able to get away with just doing 1 group. No idea. But essentially what you'll do is these eggs will be protected by a Doomscale Warden each, and you just want to move the Doomscale Warden away from the eggs, because while they're next to them, you can't pick them up, right? It forbids all touch while the Warden draws breath. Oh, so actually, my mistake. You actually will probably need to kill the Warden straight up before you can actually do anything, even if you move it away, right? Because while it's alive, you can't actually pick these up. And then, of course, they have this little AoE aura like around them within 7 yards, so you can't actually have melee do anything to them, because they'll just get fucked up by them, but you do need a tank to pick them up. And what they do is this really annoying cast, think kind of Bonds of Fel from Gul'dan, where it puts like this root on you, and then you need to snap it. And when you snap it, you get this heavy hitting dot on you. And then does it change to the AoE one on Heroic? I think only on Mythic it does. Where is it? Snapping. Okay. Oh, yeah. On Heroic, it's going to. Oh no, it's still okay. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm retarded. On Heroic difficulty, Blood Veins affected all players, right? So on Heroic, the big thing with this is you want to have these staggered, right? You can't just insta-snap them, because you'll just put a massive dot on the entire raid. You can probably do, I mean, it's actually not that bad per, right? 146k, obviously if it stays at this, it's not that bad. Live numbers subject to change, but you could probably do, I mean, 146k every 2 seconds is not that bad. You could probably snap like 3 or 4 and just be perfectly fine, assuming there's no other raid damage going out. Again, we don't know how many will actually go out, but on normal, just snap them, as soon as you get it, just to get, this off, because otherwise you're just slowed by 45%, and you're taking this not insane dot, but it's really just the slow you want to worry about. So besides that, they'll of course also slither to a new destination after they lose their shadow skin. We don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. It's probably just a timer, right? When they're alive for too long, they just move away somewhere else. Maybe they swap sides, right? Again, I think this is supposed to be, they're supposed to be like up for most of the phase, so it might be that like after X% they like both the ads switch sides, right? You have like where's another Doomscale Warrior, right? You have like your 2 guys here, they get to like 50%, this guy goes over here, this one gets to 50%, this guy goes over there, and they just swap. Or maybe, maybe he goes like over here just to be an asshole, and he goes over here to be an asshole, and they have to like run to them. Could be, you don't know. And then, they might respawn, like you might deal with this set of eggs, and then a new set of egg spawns, and then you have to deal with new wardens and what have you, right? Because again, you're not going to have her to hit in this phase, but I think based on, where is it, Ula'Tek's bond, right? I think these count as part of her form, so technically, right, doing damage to these might do damage to her, and then it might be, percent HP based. Again, it doesn't say in the journal, I don't think. Your strength move between the prodigy broken. Yeah, it doesn't really tell us what triggers the next phase. Could be like X amount of Doomscale Wardens, which correlates to X amount of her percentage. But then the main mechanic of this phase, right, we've only been talking about the Wardens. The main mechanic is this Doomscale egg, right? So they have this hatching Doom and Doomscale shells, right? And so when these things hatch, if they hatch like in a way that, in the bad way, where they just get to, the timer runs out, they spawn, they get this ability, Dread Roar, which does a lot of damage every second and stuns everyone for 20 seconds, which obviously that's a fucking wipe. Even on normal, you are dead. There's no way you are living a 20-second stun, right? That's also doing 400k damage a second. So the intended way, of course, of dealing with them is to put this defect weakened on them, right? This makes it so they take 100% increased damage and that they can't cast Dread Roar, right? So instead, they do this interruptible cast, Anguish Cry. Just does a little bit of damage, but the big thing is it stuns everybody within 60 yards, sorry. So pretty much everyone on that side gets stunned. Of course, it is interruptible, so make sure you kick every single one of them, even on normal. And then they do this Thrash to the tank that seems to cleave people in a cone, or maybe it just faces people and does a cone. Either way, pretty nothing burger compared to the Anguish Cry. So you just want to make sure you kick that. So how do you cause this defect weaken, right? Obviously, that's what you want to do. So again, we don't know for certain, but it seems like instead of protecting the eggs, you're actually tossing them into this cauldron here. A hissing cauldron of corrosive venom, ready to devour any offering thrown into its depths. So I believe the thinking here is that you pick the eggs up, You take them to the cauldron, you throw them in, and then they come out with defect weakened. You pick them up and you just cleave them down, right? Is the intended idea. And then, of course, what's the complication on heroic? Well, it's basically just that there is now a timer on killing these, right? You get these Ravenous Doom scales. Actually, is this? Oh, no. Okay, sorry. I was thinking about Mythic. So on heroic, instead, what happens is the second that you pick up a side's eggs, you actually start the timer for hatching all of the eggs, right? So, on normal, what you can do is, right, I can be, Mr. DPS man. I come pick the egg up, and then, I come toss it into the cauldron. We have a cauldron. Let's see a cauldron. We're gonna make, this is gonna be a cauldron, okay? This little gateway, right? So I come over here, I toss the egg in. This is on normal, and then I go and I get this egg, and I toss this in, right? You can have like one person do all this. I'll take this ad with me just for fun, right? So that's how you would deal with it on normal. I don't know how to get rid of that. We'll just respawn them, right? So that's what happens on normal. Where's our Mr. Warden friend? So on heroic, once one dude comes over here and picks an egg up, right? Then this egg also starts hatching. It's going to start shaking, getting real green and stuff. So you need everybody, like if you're assigned to breaking eggs, or like you want to pick an egg up, you need everybody else to also pick up their eggs at the same time, right? Otherwise, like I said, it'll hatch all these eggs on this side. On this side will be fine. So you can have different times for when, you're picking these eggs up and taking them. And again, remember, this warden has to be dead for you to even pick these up in the first place, right? And so that's, the main difference on heroic. Just adds a bit more coordination, right? You can't just have people randomly taking eggs. You have to have them all do it at the same time. So again, normal versus heroic, not a huge difference, right? Still the same idea. Take the eggs, put them in the cauldron, kill the ads, kill the wardens, kick the casts, yada yada, right? And of course, on heroic, you have to snap these. Where is it? Grasping Fangs. On normal, you can just snap them whenever. On heroic, you want to try to coordinate it a little bit more. But again, does so little damage that you might just be able to whatever with them, right? And yeah, you'll still get the Rage of the Shackled cast every now and then. Again, we don't know what causes this. We just know that it's going to be a damage amp every now and then, even on this phase. So be ready to deal with that. Oh, and I guess I didn't mention it before in P1, but while she's doing that, there's going to be AoE damage. She's going to do this amount to everybody over that 20 seconds, and also there's going to be stuff to dodge. So just something to keep in mind. So then we go to the intermission, which is the shattering, and it's the reason why the platform turns from this to this. So she's going to go around, slap the platform up, and then leave it kind of like Illyria, where you have to hop between these. Dude, what is going on with my delete key? Okay, there we go. So you're gonna need to like go between these, and obviously you can probably guess that each one of these is gonna get destroyed as the phase goes on, right? Just like Illyria, to do a cast and then break one, and you'll need to go over. I don't know if there's gonna be feathers exactly. It doesn't seem to be anything like Illyria's feathers. I think you just jump over, whether gateway or you just take a dip in the lava real quick. But yeah, that'll be the intermission, and you have to do the soaks from P1 during it, right? So you might have like soak here, and then you have to stand in it and see the thing go, and then you need a bunch of people to stand in it, and it could be even like overlaps where like you have to stand, you have to get this one, and then right after you finish soaking it, you go here, or even maybe leave some people behind to soak it with like immunities or something. Highly doubt that'll happen on normal. Maybe it could be something on heroic and Mythic. And then yeah, that's the intermission. So then you start P3 with the platform all broken up like this, and then really P3 is just P1, just a little bit harder, I guess. The main difference, of course, is going to be this Serpent's Bite. She's going to do the thing that the wardens were doing. Oh no, sorry, this is actually completely different. This is like was it Hungering Devour, or what's that boss in Emirdrasil, Laridar, where it's just like it's a debuff. It's gonna leech from them, and then after 15 seconds it'll turn them into this calcified corpse, right? Which is just permadeath, can't immune it, and it'll stun you forever and just do very high taking damage. So you don't want that to go off. The way you can get rid of it is that you just have people soak with them, and it'll remove stacks of it, and then turn them into basically a bomb. It'll give them a 5-second debuff, and then when it goes off, it just explodes. It doesn't re-give them this debuff on normal. Even on heroic, I don't think it does that. Let me see. Whoops, that's mythic. Let's go down to this. Yeah, even on heroic, it doesn't like re-give the debuff, so it's just the damage. So there's like 2 different interpretations. It could just be that like you need one person to soak with them, which I highly doubt. I feel like that's a little bit too easy. You'll probably just need a bunch of people to get rid of this debuff from them. It's probably like a stacking thing. You have to remove X stacks to get rid of the debuff. Again, not 100% sure on how it'll work, but I'm guessing you just like on normal, you can probably just literally keep them in the group and just get insta rid of the debuff and then have everyone spread. On heroic, that might not be as smart. It might be maybe too much damage, right? For them to just have the entire raid soak it. So you might not need like an assigned group or whatever, or you could just YOLO it. Depends on how hard it hurts, right? But that's really the only big change. Besides that, she's still going to do everything from P1, right? The waves, you're going to have the ads that you need to protect from the waves, move and kill. She's still going to do the tank knockback, the healer damage. She still has this. She still does the damage amp. And then this looks like the hardened rage, I'm guessing. I'm guessing after she does the 4 circling prey casts, like you'll have a little bit of time to swim in the lava, and then she's going to do this and just wipe the entire raid. This is like the hardened rage. Softened rage is just her destroying the platforms with this, which, you know, if she destroys a portion of the platform, drawing her play closer, and then doing up 1.3 million damage to them. So if you're still on the platform when this goes off, you are giga dead. And then she's just going to do like some raid damage if you got off the platform, right? That's really it as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm guessing that after she does 4 casts of these, because there's 4 platforms, she's going to cast this and hard wipe the raid while you're swimming in the lava, right? And then yeah, remember, you still have to, you know, if you can't move, she just swims around here, so the tank needs to pick her up. You're still going to get the actually, I don't think you get the Gore Rattlers, do you? No, looks like you don't get the Gore Rattlers in P3. On heroic, do they spawn? Nope. So yeah, it's literally just P1 with a little bit of extra sauce. On heroic, this doesn't change. I don't actually think there's any heroic changes to P3. Oh no, sorry, I am wrong. You do get these Blight Scale Shriekers on heroic, right? Did we get them on normal? Just double check. Oh yeah, okay. So even on normal, you get these Blight Scale Shriekers. This is the only other change. These are some special ones that spawn, basically. They do a cast. That's really bad. You just want to kick this, otherwise it stuns people. Stuns the whole... Actually, I don't think it stuns their whole raid. It just picks one person and stuns them. And of course, they do raid damage, so you just want to get these, or kill these super fast. So obviously you're going to do more and more raid damage, but the other ads work the exact same. And yeah, it's really about it. P3 is kind of just more of a DPS check than anything. Not really too big on coordination. And yeah, so that is how normal and heroic goes. You can basically think of it as, let me go back to normal. So P1 is just pick up eggs, dodge waves, kill tentacles, have your range kill tentacles, and melee just stay on the boss. Tanks, you just taunt swap on Mother's Wrath, and the tank not tank the boss goes and picks up the Gore Rattlers. Every now and then you're going to get damage amp with Rage of the Shackled, and that's P1 basically. And then P2 is you split the raid up. You have each tank take a Doomscale Warden, and then on normal you just want DPS once the Wardens are dead to pick up these eggs and go toss them in the cauldron. On heroic, you need to coordinate that. You have to have everybody that's going to take an egg do it at the same time. And that's really it for P2. Also, I didn't mention this, but there's stuff to dodge. The intermission, you just have to do these soaks while she's, you know, running around the platform breaking it. And then P3 is just a DPS burn like Illyria. You're going to be on 4 platforms, and you just move to each one as she destroys them. You dodge the waves like P1, keep them protected. There's an extra ad you have to kill. You have to kick it, and you have to do that like Hunger and Devour mechanic where you need to soak this debuff off of someone, otherwise they will die. And yeah, I mean that's really it. Plus the knockback for tanks. That is Ula'Tek on normal and heroic. Again, pretty simple boss. Honestly, it looks like on normal and heroic compared to some of these other fights we've had, especially like Laura. Right, this compared to Laura seems way simpler. Just might be, you know, more punishing and more about DPS checks, whereas Laura didn't really have DPS checks to speak of, if you could kill the crystals in time. But on Mythic, you know, just for fun, we're gonna look at Mythic, right? Mythic does not really change the core of the fight, but it does make everything more punishing, obviously, and add some seed slop back into it. So we'll look at the main change, which is to the eggs, right? So on Mythic, these eggs, you know, on normal and heroic, you can just kind of pick up and drop the eggs as you like. Whereas on Mythic, the eggs are going to have this shell on them. They're going to have 4.6 mil damage shell, which is not trivial whatsoever. Even being like 320 is not going to be like something you can do in a couple of GCDs, right? Like you would need the whole raid thing for like a couple seconds to break this. So this is kind of the main thing, right? It just adds like way more punishment to movement of the eggs, right? You have to be way more methodical and intentional about how you deal them. Otherwise, you're just going to be slowly losing damage to having to break them out. And then also this mechanic, right? The seed slot mechanic. So when you pick the eggs up, right, you're going to get this noxious shell debuff. And so when you drop the egg, not only is it going to get that shell back, right, but you're going to get a debuff called Rancid Yolk. And if you try to pick the egg back up, you're going to take 200% more damage from this debuff. And the debuff does what, 100k? So 200% increase, it'll do 200% too. So, or not 300%, but 300k every second, which is actually like not the worst. They'll probably need to dial this debuff up a little bit before the race starts, because that's not bad. You can probably deal with that with personal. Honestly, not even 300k, right? To one person, we have what, 579k and like 290. So I would say probably with like full like heroic track gear, you're gonna have like 700, 800k probably. So that's like not bad at all, right? That can be like definitely healed by like a holy paladin or something. But in any case, obviously it's probably gonna be off to where you can't do that. But the other big thing is that if you move within 3 yards of another player that has an egg, you guys are gonna kill each other, right? You're gonna put this insane debuff on you. That's going to 100% kill you without some kind of massive DR, right? And that's kind of, you know, the whole seed slot mechanic with it. Besides that, right, the ads also are obviously going to get way dangerous. The main thing is you get this boiling venom debuff. Just adds a timer to when you need to kill these, right? You can't just passively cleave them down. These need to die prio, because after 25 seconds, they're going to get 100% damage, 100% haste. So this debuff and this debuff are just going to actually start shredding. And then the, what do you call it? The Vipers, right? They're not that much stronger, and they don't seem to have this debuff. So honestly, the Vipers are not honestly not that bad. I kind of think they might need to, unless these have like crazy HP, like you could also probably do some strategy where you don't even break these eggs, right? You just let them hatch in the Vipers and maybe just passively cleave them down. Like the healing might be like just perfectly fine to deal with, right? It's only 2.1 mil compared to the 1.8 mil from heroic. So I'd probably expect that to get buffed. Stage 1. So P1 and P3 have this toxic womb, which is where a lot of the difference comes from, right? She's gonna spawn this Blightscale Wretch ad, and it has the same thing, right? Where you have to kill it or after 30 seconds just wipes the raid. It's gonna do a lot of AoE damage. And more importantly, the boss is going to try to buff the ad with this toxic incubation. It's basically going to like shoot this beam at it. And you can, if the beam's allowed to like fully empower the ad, then it gets the stacking Mother's Boon buff, which reduces its damage taken, but also increases its damage done. So that basically guarantees, one, you're not going to be able to kill it in time, because obviously you have 30 seconds to kill it. If it's getting like a 99% DR for, you know, looks like this is permanent. It's not even like short duration buff, so you will 100% not be able to kill it if it gets these stacks. But The only way to intercept it is, you know, to take these toxic burn stacks, which deal a shit ton of damage. So you're probably gonna have to just have the tank intercept this. That is purely a tank mechanic. Obviously the waves are gonna be guaranteed one shots now, whereas on Heroic and Mythic they only did like 550k, which, you know, by the time you get here you're gonna be like probably 800k, 900k HP, right? So this went from livable, especially with the DR, to definitely going to kill you. Also, let me see. Oh no, that was a different ability, right? I thought that would, what do you call it? I thought it would splash, but it's not. So those are the main changes to P1. Besides that, this is pretty much the same, just slows the tank for way more, 55% up from 35. Obviously these spectral coils, just like in Heroic, still need groups, but besides that's the same thing. And you have this knockback just being like super annoying, so that probably guarantees you'll need ranged on it. Besides that, I don't think there's that many changes to P1. Yeah, so like I said, you can see that really a fight, even on normal, is like basically the same fight, right? Just more extra coordination, but like the mechanics themselves are still pretty similar, right? Well, I guess besides the seed slop on the eggs, right? That's probably the biggest mechanical change for the fight. So for P2, this is also where some extra little trickery starts cropping up, right? I think, let me see. Yeah, so you have this mechanic, Revenge. So not only do you need to spawn all these eggs at the same time, right? Because of mass gestation, which causes you to, you know, coordinate dumping the eggs into the cauldron. You also have to kill all these doom scales at the same time, right? And importantly, it says death of their clutch mate. So that has me thinking, you know, again, we mentioned that there's going to be like two sides, you know, the typical like end boss deal. You split the raid into two. So it makes me believe that it would only affect, you know, if you kill one of the doom scales on this side, it only affects them. It could be a possibility that it enrages all ads that spawn, so it might be something you have to deal with. Besides that, they're the same. And then the wardens, I believe, do the wardens have anything else big? I think, yeah, I think this, no, this is the same. Were the wardens, it says there's a mythic change, but I don't know. I mean, this is guaranteed to wipe you now. Yeah, I don't see, I remember there was something different with the wardens, but I'm not seeing it here. So I guess the wardens are basically the same. I really swear that it was like you had to kill both the wardens at the same time, but I guess not. So really that's the only change to P2. Yeah, obviously you still get these mechanics. So P2 will probably be definitely the most hectic phase. Obviously remember you still get that. And then P2 in the intermission, of course, you still have to do the soaks, rotate groups. And then P3, it looks like where it might get actually like super crazy, because you're gonna have the P1 mechanics, but you still have to deal with all of this. And then you have this, which is not really sure how to interpret this, right? So I'll show you it. So it says the clutches slither towards the scent of venom, right? So these slithering clutches, which are gonna be like, you know, the eggs that come from the ceiling, right? They'll be these. So it's really, again, the wording is very vague. You know, there's no description, but from what it sounds like these are going to go towards something, right? It's going to go towards some of the poison. We don't know if that means it'll try to go to the waves, or if it's going to possibly relate it to this, the serpent's bite, right? And this is also another big thing. So every person that soaks the debuff in P3 is also going to shoot out waves afterwards. So you're going to have, like, if you have a lot of people helping that person, you're probably gonna have to send in the minimal amount of people that'll still get rid of the debuff, right? Because you don't want, especially with how small these platforms are going to be, you don't want that many extra one-shot waves to be spawning. Plus you have to worry about where you position those waves, because they'll probably shoot out in like all four directions like these typically tend to go. You know, think the last boss of Arakara, right? And so you don't want to shoot your eggs that you have on the platform that you're protecting. And these might try to go towards those people. Again, we don't really know. Very super vague. And yeah, you're gonna have the Blight Scale of Shriekers. These still have that, and they try to get buffed by the boss. You still have the Circling Prey, and really, again, that's about it. Everything else is pretty much the same. I would say the only big change on Mythic to P3 is, of course, that Southern Clutch, based on the wording. Of course, we don't know how exactly that'll work. I mean, I'm sure you can data mine it and probably figure it out, but again, I'm not going to do that, just speculating from the Dungeon Journal. And yeah, I mean, that's Ula'Tek. That's normal, heroic, and mythic. Again, not a super complicated fight, especially compared to like Lura. I mean, you look at this fight, even on mythic compared to Lura, and it's like night and day, right? Like this fight is just absolutely batshit compared to this. So it definitely seems like they went more towards the, Galliwix with this fight. Definitely seems like it'll be a lot easier, but I think it'll be a pretty intense damage check with everything in there, especially since you have all these damage amps. That usually means that the DPS check is going to be pretty tight, and you're gonna have to super optimize around that. But yeah, that's all I got for Ula'Tek. Pretty cool little boss, pretty cool to speculate on these. Again, I could be completely wrong on how you deal with all this, could be completely different from the live version, but I think this is still pretty good feel for the fight. At the end of the day, there's only so many ways you can do protect eggs, dodge waves, soak stuff, yada yada, right? Yep, so that's it. Thanks for watching. See ya.